The One Ring is a terrific RPG. However, it is certainly not for everyone. In this review, I'll go section by section talking about what I like and what I don't like. If you want to see how the different mechanics actually work, check out my other various videos. I'll start with a few things that I don't like. I think the scope of the game is too small. Of course you can travel beyond Eriador, but I wish some more cultures were included, such as Gondor and Rohan. As well, having adversaries like giant spiders would be great. The other thing I really dislike, although this doesn't actually matter, is the artwork in the book. The color pages are quite good, but most of the pencil sketch style pieces are pretty boring. Every piece of artwork in RPG books should make people want to play that character or be in that story. I don't think anyone would look at these rangers and want to play them. Again, this doesn't really matter. The artwork isn't the gameplay, which is what does matter. Another minor thing that is strange and confusing are the marvelous artifacts and wondrous items. They don't need to be different things. The only difference between them is that one has one blessing and the other has two, but marvelous artifacts and wondrous items as terms mean the same thing. It's just kind of needlessly confusing. The last thing that I'll mention here that I will probably change from my games is that there is a pretty strong emphasis on returning back home or to the same safe haven in between adventures. In The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, there's pretty much no returning to familiar locations. Both those books are about quests, which is what I would rather do than have an ongoing story that is supposed to last an in-game decade. With that, the time frame for leveling up would have to be changed and probably a few other things, but I think it would fit the books better. With that said, the undertakings that you can do during the Fellowship phase are great. How many games have an option to write a song? Now that general things are out of the way, let's get into everything else. Character creation is really good. Everything is laid out very plainly in a straightforward manner. You don't have to be flipping back and forth between pages to make your character. I like that there are no classes. Every character can basically do all the same stuff that other characters can do, with the exception of the culture-specific virtues. And speaking of those cultural virtues, they're great. There's so many cool elements to choose from that I think it'll be hard to pick which ones to go for. Having a fellowship focus and the ability to give superior successes to an ally really helps with the theme of the game that you are a good team that is helping each other. The load system, I think, works quite well without getting bogged down in finicky rules like encumbrance in D&D. So much of the One Ring builds on the themes and settings of Tolkien's worlds, and the load system reinforces that the characters aren't going to lay waste to hordes of goblins. Characters will have weapons and armor to defend themselves if they need, but you're going to want to try to avoid conflict in these games, especially because hitting your target numbers is hard. The target numbers in the One Ring are something I'm not sure of yet. I've only played a few games and my players started with 18 instead of 20 as the base TN. Even so, if players only have 2 d6s to roll for a skill, it's really hard to reach those TNs. As well, having a set number instead of ever-changing ones like difficulty classes in D&D feels a bit strange. A character trying to smash down a rotting wooden door is trying to get the same result as if they were trying to smash down a stone door. The Lore Master can add or take away success dice to make the outcome more or less challenging, but taking away a whole dice is a huge disadvantage, much bigger than simply increasing the DC by 2 or 3. I don't have much to say about the patron system, although it's good. It gives a nice narrative connection for the players with a character that they will be familiar with, as well as a mechanical bonus to use within the game. One thing I find with a lot of RPGs, and this is also present in the One Ring, is there's just too many skills. I like the theme of having the core attributes be strength, heart, and wits, but I think characters would be better with less similar skills. For example, awareness and scan could be the same skill. Also, having awareness and song be under strength is odd. Ultimately, players just need a number to roll against. It doesn't matter too much where those numbers come from. But talking about rolling dice, let's move on to combat. Combat in the One Ring is pretty terrific. I really like that it feels dangerous. You are going to want to avoid conflict in this game, not go out looking for it. Having piercing blows be a constant threat means that combat doesn't feel like it does in, say, D&D, where if you're fighting a big enemy, you know its hit points are a really big number and you just need to whack away at it until the big number becomes 0. In the One Ring, every attack really has the potential to make a big difference. As well, having superior success options means that every roll doesn't come down to simply a success or a failure. It's great. Weapons actually make an interesting difference with not only how much endurance loss they deal, but also how likely it is for them to cause a piercing blow. This game also gives spears some due respect, which a lot of games don't. I do wish that players could make 2 attacks per turn at some point in the game. Maybe only about half of the adversaries get 2 attacks, but it would be nice if there was a reward or virtue that you could choose to get another attack. It would also be nice if enemies had more unique abilities. I like the option to break shields, to seize, or the undead ability to use dreadful spells, but most of the enemies don't have anything too special to make them feel different. Speaking of enemies, while there aren't many different kinds, I really like that the marsh dwellers are in here, which seem to have been pulled straight from the Mulip's poem from Tales from the Perilous Realm. I like how complications and advantages can be gained or lost, and stances are also great. Anything to make it feel like you actually have some tactical thoughts to make in combat, not just, I try to hit the thing again. In that vein, combat tasks are a good idea. I don't know if the mechanics of them work though. They don't add enough benefit in my opinion to spend a turn doing one instead of attacking, especially if you don't even succeed on your task roll. I think it might work better to take some penalty to your attack roll if you want to also perform a task. That way they'd still be something you probably wouldn't want to do every time, but it might be more worth the risk. Lastly, I like the theme of endurance instead of hit points. It's something that doesn't really matter, but it just feels better. And having to juggle your endurance, load, and fatigue, while it can be a lot to keep in mind, is really good. Characters aren't going to travel for days straight and then jump straight into a fight with full armor. Moving on, there's not a ton to say about councils other than I like them. I found it hard in D&D to know how to judge when players should convince someone of something. Having these pretty simple rules is good, especially since they aren't to be used for every conversation, only specific important ones. The rules for journeys is the one element of the One Ring that I will probably use the least, at least as they are written. They currently feel too much like random encounters. The fact that with a bad roll, a player could get a wound without any of the agency that comes with running a full combat scene just doesn't feel good. I would probably use the journey events table more as a guide to write a scene that I think might happen while players are traveling. Other than that, I think I would have it that players gain 1 point of fatigue for every hex traveled, +1 for wildlands or hard terrain, and then +2 for darklands. Traveling along roads or with horses can subtract a point for every hex, and then maybe have players gain a number of shadow points equal to a perilous area's rating per hex. This probably needs some testing to balance well, but I think it would work better and simpler than the current system. As I mentioned in my video about Shadow, it's one of my favorite features of the game. It adds to this melancholic feel that is very present in the novels, particularly The Lord of the Rings and The Silmarillion. The Shadow is also a great way to remind players that they are good people. They still have the choice to do misdeeds, like killing an unarmed enemy, but that comes with a cost. It also shows that the enemy's swords aren't the only dangers in Middle-earth. The heroes of Tolkien's works are constantly battling against what feels like the futility of their actions compared to the power of the enemy, and having that reflected with game mechanics like flaws and madness is really great. On a related note, I like that there isn't much focus on looting and amassing wealth. That's not what heroes should be about, and focusing on that is likely to cause a character to gain shadow through greed. Lastly, here are some final thoughts I have about the One Ring. When I first saw Lord of the Rings RPGs, I did think, what's really the point? Instead of learning a new system, I can just use the rule set I already know, that being D&D 5e, and making a Tolkien-like campaign. But after researching the One Ring and finally buying and playing it, I can see why having a dedicated rule set is so beneficial, especially when it's written by someone like Francesco Nepitello. The One Ring is not just a generic fantasy rule set with a few recognizable names from Middle-earth. This is a game designed to fit the themes and feelings of Tolkien's works. Everything in the core rules is so on brand with Tolkien's works. Having quotes from the books included with pretty much every rule is a great way of showing why each mechanic was included. As well, having the cultures that are in here, not ones like wizards, is great, because there are only a few wizards in Middle-earth at this time, and we know who they are, and they're not player characters. There are also the distinctive features and flaws that are all descriptors you'll see Tolkien use in novels, so they feel really authentic. So, after all this praise, why did I start off this video by saying that the One Ring isn't for everyone? I think for this game to really work, you need two things. Players that fully buy into what this game is, and a really good lore master. The One Ring needs to have a very good story to keep players wanting to play it. I know any RPG should have a good story, but with something like D&D, there's a lot of novelty throughout the game that can help make up for a weaker story. Players can be really excited about the new abilities that they will get the next time they level up, or wondering what strange enemy type they will come up against soon. In the One Ring, there is not a lot of novelty. You won't be able to shoot lightning bolts from your swords, and there is a pretty small set of creatures to face. And because you'll probably want to be avoiding combat, because of how deadly it is, the enjoyment from this game will be in the characters and the stories that are in it. I really want to play more of this game, but I don't think I'm as good a lore master as is needed. And back to the players, if the group doesn't know or care for Tolkien's works, and wants more of a power fantasy, they're probably not going to love mechanics like Shadow. So to end, The One Ring is a terrific RPG. If you have a group that really wants a Tolkien-esque campaign, you are not going to find a better system than this. I've only played a few sessions so far, but I'm really enjoying it. And even when I'm not playing the game, having these rules bang around inside my head is a lot of fun just to think about different stories that I could write. At some point I may check out the Strider mode since my group can only meet about twice a year. I hope this review is helpful for you. If you haven't watched my other videos, they go through how all the different mechanics work, so be sure to check those out. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.